At Ventum Financial, we believe that sharing another person's story is a privilege. The people inspiring and activating others, role modeling what's possible, solving problems today, and building for a better tomorrow. Who is relevant is subjective, but what if we turn the dial? Leaning into the courageous leaders who quietly drive positive change. This is Relevant, where leaders, creators, and change makers share the ideas shaping business, culture, and the world, one conversation at a time. In this bonus episode, Relevant NextGen, I had a conversation with a group of students and young adults to talk about money, careers, and the small habits that actually stick. We're making NextGen a recurring feature each season. Short, candid conversations that help you hear directly from the next generation. They're practical, direct, and full of ideas you can share or act on right away. Listening to them, I was struck by how friends share tips and habits, creating real financial literacy, and that today's influence is social. It happens between peers and in shared routines. These conversations are exactly why we launched Relevant NextGen. Unexpected voices, honest habits, and real lessons. This is Relevant, where people are discovered. Thank you for joining me. I'm joined with Rhea and Jake. Have a conversation with them about thoughts and attitudes and experiences around financial institutions and money. Rhea, can you tell me, do you remember what your first experience was with money?
Yeah. I remember, I think it's around my birthday. Whenever I'd go to my grandparents' house, my grandpa would pull out 2 bills. He said, "You want the blue one or the red one?" And I would like the blue because of the color, but my parents and sister would always say, "Take the red one, take the red one."
That was the 50.
The 50, yes. And I never really understood why until I got a little bit older. And then when he tried the same trick, I knew. Take the red one, take maybe the brown one, ask for that one.
Amazing. Well, perfect example of we learn from experience. Yeah. Jake, do you remember yours?
I remember my dad had me paint a fence in the backyard, and I was about 8 years old, and I had gotten a Blue Jays hat and $25 because he had told me save 50% and spend 50%. The Jays hat was $25, and he gave me $25. So he said, "This is a good life lesson for you to have the rest of your life."
Let's work on that, Jake. Do you have that philosophy towards money now of how to save but also enjoy?
I try to keep about 50% of my money and put it away into like a savings account or an investing account rather than just having it in my bank account. And then I keep about 50% of my money in my bank account. I use it for daily spending, having fun, going down to Jays games, fun things like that that'll enjoyable moments.
And Rhea, what's your philosophy around saving?
I'm pretty similar as well. If I'm in the position to, I like to try to save around 70 to 75% of my paycheck. That can either go into a long-term or a little checking. And then the remaining 25 to 20%, that's my free spending money. So going out, enjoying my friends, going on trips, things like that.
So Jay told us about philosophy that was taught within your home. Who taught you about money and saving?
Yeah, my parents definitely did. Growing up, my parents were always like, save your money so you can buy things later. So then growing up, I got a job at 15. Always I focused on saving my money. And buying the things later were maybe a car, a house, things like that. So I feel like even as I've grown older, the first philosophy has always been save the money to spend later. And
let's talk about when we use our money to make more money. Were either of you introduced to savings accounts or investments at a younger age, or even where are you at now?
I was introduced to an investing account at a young age. My dad had told me he would buy me some shares in Rogers it was, because he told me that was a safe bet and a safe buy for a young person. So I was about 8 years old, and he had taken $50 of mine. I'd given him cash, and he had put it into his account and put it into a Rogers stock. And to this day, I think I hope he still owns that stock, and I hope I'll see that money soon. So yeah.
Yeah. And for me as well, growing up, any birthday money, things like that, my parents would always put in a high interest savings account. And now as I've gotten older, my mom, she's a little more well-versed in savings such as like TFSAs and different accounts such as that. So now since I've earned a little bit more money, I try to put my money into accounts I wrote. Yes.
So when you've had any engagement with financial advisory, has it been actually an individual, or have you sought out digital platforms, or even both?
I've used digital platforms. I've checked out some research websites, as well as a bunch of research websites, as well as analysts, to see what they're saying about stocks that I've been wondering about buying. I've been looking into, or something that I see my friends, or something piqued the interest of somebody that I know well and trust. I would definitely take a deeper dive and look into other researchers and analysts, advanced people, see what they're saying on the stock and have their take, as well as take that input as well with mine, kind of mix those and get a co-op opinion.
Okay. Yeah. And I have the similar philosophy as that as well. I feel like I do more independent research as opposed to going to financial institutions and getting their opinion. So as in like asking my friends about it, because I know I have a lot of friends in the stock markets. And I just ask them, like, how'd you get into this? What are your insights and things like that? So I tend to do my own research versus go to an institution.
That's a great point. Do you talk to your friends about money from two places? One, do you speak to them about investments? And do you speak to them about things you might acquire, or things that perhaps you're finding difficulty with? I can't do this, or I can't go out tonight because I don't have enough money saved up. Is that something that you share with your friends?
100%. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with my friend group, and a lot of us recently, the money's been a little tighter with people not having summer jobs and things like that. So some people have been missing out on dinners here and there. They're like, oh, I'd rather just stay at home, or could we go to a friend's house and eat there rather than go outside and spend $50, $60. So they really want to save that money. And as well as investing, yeah, we do discuss investments with friends. I do have a lot of friends that actually have internships downtown and are working jobs downtown that involve investing. And I do take their inputs, and we do discuss it. We have roundtable discussions. We just use all of our input, put all of our minds together, and kind of get a joint perspective on something, which is nice.
Interesting. Yeah. And mine's definitely the same way with my friends, especially being a student and having limited money. We definitely talk about trying to find cheaper options, even if we're going out, or what are cheaper alternatives and things like that. And especially because of the environment we're in right now, the housing market as well as the job market, the security is not the same as in our parents' generation. So for sure, trying to invest our money and try to grow with what we have, we definitely talk and share knowledge. We're trying to help each other out in the society that we're in that right now.
So let's talk about it a little bit. Jake, you talked about having friends who've had a hard time getting a job. Have you had that experience as well? Or
I have, yeah. And even personally, I just finished up a year-long internship, and I was trying to find one for the summer. I applied to maybe 20 or more starting in like December, November for the summer. And it was very difficult to find any positions.
How does that impact your thinking or your behavior around either the degrees you're taking, or how long you'd like to continue your education, or even Toronto as a city for the future? Is it anything, where does your head go to that when you know that even getting your first job has become difficult?
For me, postgraduate, now I'm considering maybe getting a CFA or an MBA to further my initial degree. I feel like networking is the key to finding any positions. And in addition to that, getting something that's in addition to your degree will really set you apart. So I feel like even getting a CFA, if I'm not super passionate into going into that financial area, it will open up a lot more opportunities.
Jake?
Definitely. I think like what you touched on, the networking there, I think networking is a huge aspect of, especially Toronto. We know Toronto, it's a huge city, but it's so intertwined, and we're always running into people that we know through other people at like grocery stores, little markets, things like that, smaller areas. So it's always such a small city, and networking, really knowing people and understanding and having a group that you can trust and follow along with is really important, especially with the job market nowadays. A bunch of my friends have gotten jobs through their networking skills rather than, I would say, their attributes and what they actually learned in school. So I think that's definitely an important aspect, and who you know is very important nowadays.
Toronto affordability and housing, is that something that concerns you at all? And if it does, what are you thinking about that? Is Toronto a city you want to stay in? Do you want to move out to suburbs? Would you consider living in another country?
Yes, it definitely is. Currently, if you look at a little bungalow in downtown Toronto, it's definitely over $1 million. And say like 50 years ago, it would be affordable, maybe off a minimum wage job. So if the housing market goes at the trends it's going right now, it will be very difficult to be able to find housing in Toronto. So for my future, ideally, I would like to stay within Ontario, as my family's here and I want to stay close to them. But for sure, maybe long term, I would definitely look at opportunities for jobs in other countries as I know, say, for example, the United States or in Europe, I know their compensation for certain positions are more. So that will help give me a leg up when I come back here.
Okay, great.
I love Toronto. It's the city I've grown up in my whole life, and I would love to raise my future family here. So I definitely see myself staying in Toronto. The affordability is definitely an issue in the housing market, especially for, I would say, somebody around my age, early 20s. You're kind of looking to move out of your parents' house, get that first place. I think roommates is going to be something that a lot of us are going to end up having. Roommates in condominiums, apartments. A lot of condominiums and apartments are being put up now, which I think will help with that. And finding rent. I know some condominium rents are going down now, which is a positive. So definitely finding roommates and maybe sharing the space with people, sharing the cost of living with maybe 2 or 3 friends is definitely going to be the start. And then it's going to be a climb from there. It depends, like I said, how fast we can get there. But it's just a climb.
Thinking about financial institutions and that there may be some consideration that they have overlooked your generation for service or speaking to you guys in a way that would be of use. If you wanted to debunk a prejudice or a bias towards your generation, what would you like to say?
Something I'd like to debunk is that I feel like the older generation has this misconception about the younger generation that we're not serious about saving our money or investing in the same ways that they did. I feel like even our parents or grandparents' generations, their priorities were save your money, get a house, support your family. Then maybe once you retire, then you can spend it on yourself, maybe travel. But I feel like those outlooks have really shifted for our generation. People are telling us to enjoy your money while you're young. And especially now more than ever with the unaffordability of the housing market, that's very true. So the philosophy I like to use is save a large portion of my paycheck, save it in investing accounts so it can grow, but also take that spending money and do opportunities that I won't be able to get back when I'm older, such as traveling or things like that.
Smart.
No, 100%. I do enjoy spending the money that I do have. And when I think about investing, I think about the younger generation. A lot of people say we don't look 10 years in the future. We don't even look months in the future. I think it really depends person on person. I feel like a lot of us have grown up with with our parents kind of investing good roots into us and starting our investing skills young. Like I said, with my father teaching me that 50-50 rule, spend 50, save 50 and invest it, keep it for the rest of your life. That's a really important thing. And I think something I've definitely heard a lot from my friends is just like a common joke. It's like, there's no point of having money when you're dead. So spend your money while you're still alive.
Ria, you had mentioned about the complications about getting a job, and you were speaking even about broadening your skill set of getting your CFA, not necessarily to pursue a job in accounting, but it would be a complementary skill set. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about, is the concern for you that either the role won't exist that you like, or is it an issue around salary, and which one becomes the one that you pursue, or what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah. Currently, as looking for a position once as a new grad, I'm more looking to find a position that encompasses my needs, more so to see what positions there are out there. So currently, as salary is nice, it's not the main goal.
Yeah.
I'm privileged to be able to rely on my parents for housing and things like that. So my first priority is to find a job that gives me a good position, puts my foot in the door, like people like to say. And then once there, work there it depends on how I like the job, work there for a couple of years and maybe move along, or just secure a position and then actively seek for something else.
I joined Ventum because I was looking for a firm that was independent, entrepreneurial, and allowed you to be your very best self at work.
I was with them previously and came back because it felt like a family to me. And I haven't been able to replicate that culture really anywhere else.
It's been amazing energy so far and great camaraderie amongst our team.
And there's a real sense of teamwork, which in turn creates a highly collaborative and intellectually stimulating work environment.
I'm excited about working in an organization that has a commitment to a service culture enabled by empowering people, continuous improvement, and process reengineering.
Ventum is a leading independent company with an exciting future. We have a very strong platform.
Someone would like to join Ventum because of the firm's commitment to enhancing not only the experience of their employees, but also the experience of their clients.
We distinctly and passionately believe that if we give our investment advisors, our frontline capital markets professionals, the tools and the resources that they need, that they will take care of our mutual end client.
Turning up for people, this is Ventum. Joining me today are Zach and Alexa, who are going to be sharing some of their experiences they've had. And our first topic is around money. Can you share with me what your first experiences were, what your first young memories are with money?
I think for myself, I remember as a young age, my sister and I always playing with our little toy cash registers and wanting to cash out when we came home with groceries. And then we used to go over to my grandparents' house, and my grandfather would always hand us $20 bills. And that was like our aha big girl moments. So that was my earliest memory.
And Zach?
Yeah, for me, I think I remember being young and my dad started giving me a weekly allowance, maybe started as $5, and I'd always cherish that and put that in my little piggy bank in my room. And I think actually I have a piggy bank in my room still with those $5 bills I haven't opened today. So
when you think about your families and your first experiences with money, which are yours are very typical, what was the mood around money in your house? And I'll break this by saying I remember my home was very different with my mother and my father, but there was sometimes a lot of joy around money, and sometimes there was a lot of tension.
Yeah, I think for me, similar to you, my mom and dad probably approached it a little differently. My dad more so, we were at the grocery store and I saw a chocolate bar, and my dad might be like, oh, we have chocolate at home. And I think that stays with me today where, if I'm out, I don't need to indulge in a little treat. Whereas I know if I'm with my mom, maybe I can get her to get that little chocolate bar.
Similar, honestly. I was very fortunate that money was always a very transparent conversation that I had with both my parents. And they still instilled really good values from a young age. It was a lot of saving and truly learning what the value of a dollar was.
And now that you're both at the point in your life where you're working, and that's when I think we really recognize the true value of a dollar and how hard it is actually to not only earn a dollar, but keep a dollar. Has your thought changed around need versus want?
100%. I think especially being a student and working, you have to allocate your expenses properly. And it's not always easy. I think when you're younger, you're carefree, you don't have the expenses. So your conception of like what it means to go and purchase a want is very different than it is now, because needs come first. And then oftentimes when you look at the balance, there's not enough for those tiny things that you used to.
The pleasure seat.
So you start to think twice now.
Yeah, I think for me as well, like I kind of in the back of my head have an idea of what I need to put aside for either expenses or maybe save a bit. And in my head, I'll have a number where I'm okay with having a little to spend on myself and what I want.
So when you think about your experience today, not as when you were a child, and you did a scale of 0 to 10, and 10 being a very happy, joyful experience, what would you say you feel around money on a day-to-day?
Yeah, I think for me, having money is more something that something for me with money, I think, is that I don't want to think about the money I'm spending. Like if it's a little expense, I think today working a job, I'm able to spend a little more on things that I want and not have to think about the money if it's just like a little snack from the candy store. Whereas that $5 bill from my dad's piggy bank, my allowance was, spent differently, I think.
I think if I look at it now on that scale of 1 to 10, I would put myself maybe at a 7. And the reason being is I think a lot about the future. And even though I'm working now and, maybe expenses will be minimal because I am younger, I'm panicked about the future because I don't know what it will hold for me. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Good touch point, Alexa. Tell me where your minds are at about the future. We're all reading that it's very difficult to get a job. We know that there's incredible shift going on with AI, and that can impact those starter positions. Is that something that is in the forefront of your mind of what happens at graduation?
100%. And I think nowadays too, even with schooling, like I chose to pursue master's programs just because I felt equipping myself with a higher level of education maybe will put me at an advantage down the road. But if you're looking for entry-level positions, it's extremely difficult, especially here in Toronto. And if you look at the rise in costs everywhere too, there is sort of a panic among our generation, I would say.
So, is that familiar?
For me, I think I definitely see it's a competitive job market. I think right now, thinking about my future, I know I have to put in a lot of work now to try to get a good entry position so that down the line I can get to where I want to go. So I think just having such a competitive job market's kind of forced me to work harder now so that I can see some benefits in the future.
Thinking about your money, and you've got your money that you need to manage for university. You've got your fun money that you guys both admit to having. When you think about your future money, so what that might be for buying a condo, buying a house, starting a family, how do you feel around that? And what has been your experience either with your bank or whether a digital online platform that would help with investing? First of all, have you used either?
Yes, for me, I use an online broker just to manage some money. And for me, as someone in a commerce program at university, I thought it would be beneficial to have some hands-on experience and kind of learn. Exactly. So I think for me, learning a bit through finance and just investing is something that's powerful for me.
I agree. I use an advisor as well. I think as you're getting started, it's important to have someone to look to for guidance, especially when you are starting early. I do also think that there's a slight bit of panic because if you don't start now building those habits, maybe like you said, dabbling and playing around with it, it's not sustainable long-term to not start now.
Right.
Yeah.
You're speaking with someone, is that right?
Yes,
an actual advisor. So you are self-guiding?
Yes. I think for me, I have some money that's being managed, and then I have some money that I'm investing myself.
Okay. So when you invest yourself, Zach, where are you getting your knowledge from? Like, where are you getting your tips from? And that's a question actually for both of you. Where do you get your financial knowledge? Is it through social media? Are you reading news? Where are you getting the stories that are being told, and how would you know what to invest in?
Yeah, for me, I'm a big reader of news. I have a lot of notifications on my phone always on different news apps, financial apps. And so that helps with the big macro picture. Whereas if I want to really delve into a company, maybe I'll get, into some financials and, look a little deeper. But I think through reading, through conversations with friends who are also, in my commerce program and have knowledge that I trust, I think we're able to generate ideas through each other.
Through conversation.
Similar, I'm in a fortunate position where I'm also a commerce student, so I do have a little bit of background knowledge, and then I supplement through reading, speaking with peers, and I read a lot of articles, and then my advisor. So I usually go in with the game plan. I know what kind of I'm looking for, and then I seek opinions because I find that's the best way to learn. So I kind of go in with that, but it's an interesting point because I feel like in our generation, sometimes we are often overlooked by big banks, fintech even. So it really is hard to start if you don't have a base of some sort.
Knowing from your own experience that, as you've just said, sometimes you guys are overlooked, what would you like financial institutions to debunk a myth of whether you've got the knowledge, whether you'd like to be serviced? What is the bias that you feel that you receive?
Yeah, maybe people overlook us and think we lack knowledge. I think as someone who's young, it's kind of tough when there's such big institutions for, someone who's so young with such little experience to really match up against the resources those big institutions have. But I think through learning and just reading, I think there's a lot that can be done there.
I think for me, I'd love to debunk that we're not serious about our futures and then the growth that comes with that. Because a lot of us do have plans in place. We just don't know where to start, and no one wants to kind of take us on that journey. Yes, our generation tends to be a little bit more into the instant gratification purchases, which is true. But I think it stems from a place where we feel like some of the goals, like buying a house, family planning, and all that seems so unattainable. So we supplement now because we don't think it's possible.
Knowing that affordability is one of Toronto's biggest challenges for your age group, has that changed your perspective at all of where it is you want to develop a career or what your future looks like?
A little bit. I mean, I've always thought out after a career with no borders, I'd love to travel if possible. So for me, I'm a little bit flexible, but as you said, with affordability in Toronto becoming almost less attainable, it is sort of pushing me out just a tad. But again, there are things that ground you here, like family and friends and everything. So now I'm in a position where it's like trying to figure out how I'm going to make it work.
For me, I think it's definitely something I'm conscious of, but to kind of try and counteract that, I think I'm trying to work hard to get a great job so that I'm able to still live in these big cities where the big opportunities are.
We can walk this road till our days grow old. In this life we've built together, and we just begun. The best is still yet to come.
Better health is a lifelong journey. Choose the right healthcare partner. NextGen.
Can you all share with me advice that you were given at a point in your life that is still relevant today?
Something that has always stuck with me that my mom used to tell me is you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. And I've carried that throughout like my entire life, and it's thus far has served me very well.
I think something for me, it's a little basic, but just treating everyone with respect and, it doesn't matter if they're the person who works the front desk or works, as a CEO, just treating everyone the same, I think goes a long way, because you never really know 10 years down the line where everyone's going to end up and, who you're going to be dealing with in business. So I think treating everyone well will pay dividends in the future.
One of my favorite things my dad used to tell me was try your hardest at everything, because there's no point of putting half an effort into anything, because you won't have learned experience, you won't gain anything from doing that. You got to try your hardest in everything and go both feet in if you're going to do it.
And something my mom always told me was fake it till you make it. Always carry yourself with confidence. Even if you don't feel the most confidence, just that demeanor will take you very far.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing. Thank you all so much for your time and for sharing your insights. It's really a powerful message to hear other people's opinion, and particularly of a generation that I don't get a lot of exposure to. So thank you.
Thank you.
That was Relevant. Short conversations with leaders who turn insight into action. Follow Relevant on Instagram and LinkedIn at Ventum Financial, or visit our website for show highlights. Thank you for listening and watching Relevant, where people are discovered. Please subscribe to Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and share it with someone who'd enjoy it too. Relevant is a podcast developed and produced by Ventum Financial in partnership with Archer & Co. Executive producers and director, Michelle Archer and Phil Kluba. Creative development by Sarah Carter. A special thanks to our amazing film crew, Ivan Cabas, Matt Garassi, Grace Turner, Christine Bays, and Alex Dermer. Thank you for watching and listening.